I never thought spitting into a little plastic tube could ruin my life. I bought the DNA kit on a whim, one of those sales that pop up around the holidays. My friends had done it, laughed at their results, bragged about being 2% Viking or 0.5% Neanderthal. I thought it would be the same for me. Instead, it started with an email notification at 3 in the morning. The subject line just read, "Your DNA results are ready." I almost deleted it, but I could not sleep anyway. So I clicked. The screen loaded, bright white against the dark of my apartment. My results popped up. No map of origins, no percentage breakdown. Just one line. Genetic anomaly detected. Please contact us immediately. At first, I thought it was a glitch, some database error. But when I clicked on the More Info tab, the page flickered, like it was fighting to stay open. Then words appeared, grainy, pixelated, like they had been hidden behind a curtain. Sample does not match human genome. Proceed with caution. My stomach dropped. I closed the laptop, heart racing. I laughed nervously, trying to shake it off. Maybe someone at the company was playing a joke. Maybe the test got contaminated. But when I checked again in the morning, the result was still there, only now there was something else added. A new tab labeled Project Echo. And when I clicked it, the page filled with red text. You were never supposed to know. That was when the phone calls started. An unknown number rang me before sunrise. I ignored it. It rang again. Then a voicemail appeared, but when I listened, there was no voice, just breathing. Slow, steady, deliberate breathing. I deleted it, shoved my phone in a drawer, and tried to forget. But all day I could not stop staring at my hands, my reflection, the tiny details of my body I had never questioned before. And in the back of my mind, one thought grew louder, pounding like a drum. What exactly am I? The second email came less than 24 hours later. This time, it was not from the DNA company's generic address. It came from something called Division of Genetic Integrity. I had never heard of it before. The subject line read, "We need to speak with you. Urgent." There was no greeting. No customer service, politeness, just one sentence. Do not share your results with anyone. Do not repeat what you saw. And then a phone number. I stared at it for a long time, pulse hammering in my throat. My instinct screamed to delete it, to throw my laptop out the window, but instead, I found myself dialing. The line clicked after only half a ring. "Alex," a man's voice asked. Come. How do you know my name?" I whispered. He ignored my question. "You'll need to stay where you are. We're sending a team." My chest went cold. A team. For what? What did you find in my DNA? Silence. Then a low sigh, like he was choosing his words with care. "You're sempre triggered." More silence, then, almost reluctantly, not with who, with... The line went dead. I sat frozen on my couch. Phone pressed to my ear long after the call had ended. A match? A what? My mind conjured every insane possibility: aliens, government experiments, some long-forgotten ancestor pulled from mythology. But the strangest thing was, I felt different. It was not paranoia. My senses were sharper. The hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen was suddenly unbearable, loud like machinery in a factory. I could hear my upstairs neighbor pacing, every creak of the floorboards mapped perfectly in my head. And when I touched the skin on my wrist, it felt wrong, like something was moving beneath it, shifting. That was when the knock came. 3 slow, deliberate raps on the front door. I crept toward it, heart slamming against my ribs. Through the peephole, I saw 2 men in black suits, standing perfectly still, staring straight ahead. No badges, no expressions, just waiting. One of them lifted his hand and knocked again. "Alexei," he said, voice muffled through the door. "We need to talk. Please let us in." My entire body screamed, "Do not open that door." I took a step back, then another. That was when my phone buzzed with a new message. "Unknown number. Do not let them inside." I looked between the door and my phone, my breath catching in my throat. Someone else knew. Someone was watching. And suddenly, I realized I was not safe in my own home. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the dark with my back pressed to the wall, phone clutched in my hand, eyes darting between the door and the window. The 2 men in suits waited outside for hours. They did not knock again. They did not leave. They just stood there, like statues planted in the hallway. When the sun finally rose, the hallway was empty. But I knew they had not given up. I opened my laptop. The company's website no longer existed. The link to my results was dead. The Project Echo tab had been replaced with a blank page, but buried in my browser cache was a file I had never downloaded, a text document with no name. When I opened it, my breath stopped. It was a list of numbers, long strings of DNA code, interspersed with notes written in frantic, almost illegible text. Subject 44. Pattern identical to proto-sequence recovered from Site Omega. Human integration incomplete. Do not allow exposure. And then a final line, underlined twice. Alex S. Phase 2. Scheduled. Specimen must be contained. I slammed the laptop shut. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped it. This was not a glitch. This was a file about me. I staggered into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked normal, but my pupils were too large, my skin faintly luminous under the harsh light. When I pressed my fingers to my neck, I felt something pulse there that should not have been pulsing. I whispered to my reflection, "What am I?" It whispered back. My own lips moved, but the voice was not mine. A low hiss, layered with static. "You were never meant to know." I stumbled backwards, knocking over the towel rack. My phone buzzed again. A message from the same unknown number that had warned me about the men at the door. If you want to survive, you must move. They're coming back. They know you're unstable. Another message followed instantly. You're not sick. You're changing. The air in the apartment felt thick, heavy, like the inside of a pressure chamber. A sound rose in my ears, a low, mechanical hum, and the walls seemed to shift ever so slightly, the corners warping as if I were inside something breathing. I grabbed a hoodie, my wallet, my phone. The whisper in my head had grown clearer. No longer static, but words threaded under my own thoughts. Come back to us. Phase 2. I bolted out of the apartment and down the stairwell. On the landing between floors, I nearly collided with a man in a janitor's uniform. He smiled too widely, and his eyes glimmered a pale, unnatural gray. "You're late," he said, and reached for my arm. I ran out onto the street, past the parked black sedan that purred quietly. Though no one sat in the driver's seat, down alleyways until the city blurred into noise. Every step echoed twice, as though something was pacing me just out of sight. When I finally stopped gasping, I was in front of an old public library. The windows were boarded up. The sign faded, but the door stood ajar. On the inside of the frame, someone had carved a single word, echo. I hesitated. Then I stepped inside. The library was not a library. Inside, the air smelled like bleach and copper, a chemical sting that burned my nose. Dusty shelves lined the walls, but when I brushed my fingers over one, the wood rippled like metal under heat. A panel slid open. Beyond it, a staircase leading down into humming fluorescent light. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but the whisper in my skull pushed back. Phase 2 begins below. I descended. The further down I went, the more the steps changed. Stone became steel. The faint scent of mold gave way to ozone and antiseptic. By the time I reached the bottom, I was standing in a corridor lined with glass doors, each one fogged from the inside. Shapes moved behind the frost, silhouettes of people, or things pretending to be people. Each turned its head as I passed, like they could smell me. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "You're in the right place. Do not panic. Do not run." I slid the phone back into my pocket, my fingers trembling. My reflection stared back at me from the glass walls, only it was a heartbeat out of sync. My eyes blinked before I did. My mouth moved slower. It was like looking at an echo. A door at the end of the hall opened with a hiss. A voice called from the darkness beyond, a distorted, layered voice that sounded like mine, slowed down and doubled. Subject integration underway. "Please remain still." I stepped forward. "Who's there?" My voice cracked. "What do you want from me?" The voice shifted from the intercom to directly inside my skull. "We are what you are. You are what we are. Phase 2 requires calm." Red light washed over the corridor. Sirens screamed. The fogged glass on either side of me vibrated as whatever was inside those cells pounded to be let out. My phone buzzed with one more message. If you want to live, stay absolutely still. I froze. Something moved in the hole ahead. Not footsteps, but a crawling, liquid motion that bent light around it. It was shaped like a person, but wrong. Its limbs a fraction too long. Its face a blur of features flickering through possibilities. When it spoke again, the sound came from my own throat. Stay still. This is your mirror. This is your beginning. It crawled closer. The alarms rose to a scream. My pulse hammered so loud I thought it would hear it. I could not tell if the thing was coming to kill me or to welcome me home. I did not move. Not because I was brave, but because my body refused to obey me. My legs locked, my lungs stuttered, and every instinct screamed while my muscles betrayed me. The thing slid closer, its form flickering like a bad signal. For a heartbeat, it looked exactly like me, my face, my clothes, even the scar on my wrist from when I fell off my bike as a kid. Then it shifted again, skin bubbling like wax, bones rearranging with wet cracks. It whispered, though no mouth moved, "We are the remainder. The genome that should have died, but it lived in you." The alarms cut out, leaving only the pounding in my ears. The corridor lights flickered and died, one by one, until only the emergency glow bathed the hall in red. Behind the glass, the figures pressed their hands against the fogged doors, their shapes twitching and convulsing. They were waiting. The thing in front of me extended its hand. My hand. Its voice overlapped mine, as though it was already inside my lungs. "You are not sick. You are unfinished. Integration completes you." I wanted to scream, to deny it, but deep inside, something stirred. A second heartbeat, a rhythm not my own. My reflection in the glass didn't just blink before I did, it smiled, even as my real lips stayed frozen. The phone in my pocket buzzed one last time. With effort, I dragged it out. The message was short, written in all caps. "If you take its hand, you will never be human again." I looked from the screen to the outstretched hand. My skin crawled as the thing's fingers twitched, waiting. And then I understood. The test hadn't revealed a mistake. It had revealed a truth buried in my blood, in my bones, in whatever had been passed down to me that was not human at all. The red lights pulsed. The air throbbed. My reflection grinned wider. Somewhere, deep in the dark, 1,000 voices whispered in unison, "Welcome home." I don't remember leaving the facility. I don't remember how I got back to my apartment, but I woke up in my bed, my phone clutched in my hand, my laptop open on the desk. The email was gone. The files were gone. Only one thing remained: an envelope on the floor by my door. Inside, a single sheet of paper, printed in stark black text. Phase 2 complete. Await instructions. So now I sit here, telling you this, because I need you to understand. The DNA kits aren't harmless. They aren't just for fun. They are looking for something. And in me, they found it. If you've taken a test, if you've ever spit into that little tube, check your email. Because maybe you're not who you think you are either.